And I'll tell you a story about that. I was in London and I was walking the street with a colleague of mine, and he's won 4 Oscars, right? And the guy drove past in a UPS van and skidded in the street, got out and started running back down the street. So we were like, what's going on? My friend, this white guy, exited left, right? And this guy came up to me, he's like, I'm sorry, can I hug you? And I was like, why? And he's like, I was watching one of your shows last night, me and my wife, and I just want to say thank you for doing what you're doing for us. Yeah, it's like I felt uplifted, I felt inspired by the work that you do. Yeah, and when he left, got back in his UPS van and went back to work. My friend came back over and he was like, I have 4 Oscars and nobody has ever said that to me. People say to me, it was a great film, really enjoyed it, you know, or I love your work. But no one ever says to me, thank you for making that for us. Yeah. So for me, that's always the highest accolade I could ever have. You know, I've been working with the GTA on, and you know, Randall and Petra have been instrumental in this. Yeah. In having me come on board to help these things, is to create work that becomes inspirational, not just to people on the island, but internationally and globally. And that's, I don't take that responsibility lightly. We've got a project coming up, which is going to be released soon, that I'm really excited about. Because I think it's one of those things that when people see it, they will feel it and be inspired by it. That's a good question. I'm going to use 4 words if I can. All right. You will fall in love. 5 words, sorry. Great question. You need a really good support network of friends, usually fellow artists or creatives or creators, whatever you like to call yourselves, yeah? Have a good support network of friends, have a good support network of your family. But also I think the biggest thing, and it's something that people don't always talk about, it's not about the industry's difficult, and making, like, this is not an easy industry. To make films is not easy. It's hard work. And people will say, you know, like getting up in the morning and cutting an acre of grass is hard work. Yes, it is, yeah. But equally, this is hard work. It's hard work in the mind. It's hard work physically in the body as well when you're on set for many, many hours. The biggest obstacle to having a creative industry is your own self-esteem. It's what you say to yourself up here. Yeah, am I worthy? Why am I not worthy? Why am I, you know, why can't I go? Or I shouldn't go and ask this person, or, you know, I shouldn't enter this competition. Or it's, so the biggest thing that I always say to people is to get out of your own way. Okay, so I always get people saying to me, and this may sound like a really simplistic answer, but it's not a simplistic answer. Yeah, I always get people saying to me, how do I start? How do I get into the industry? You know, where do I begin? And I just say to them, start. They're like, what? How do I start? And start. I was in post-production on one of my films, and one of the runners in the post-production house, he said to me, how do I get into the industry? How do I start directing? And I said to him, just start. And he said, yeah, but where do I start? And I said to him, we were talking, and I said to him, look, what's your passion? He says, music is my passion. Okay. So I said, you know, do you have a group of friends? He goes, yeah, I've got a group of friends who, they've got this band and the band's doing really well. I said, do they have someone who makes their photographs or their videos? And he's like, no, they don't. They always get different people. And I said, well, then become that person. Yeah, start creating their imagery. Yeah, start growing with the band. You have your people around you. You don't have to find them, they're around you. You have your people around you. Yeah, like literally produce them into what you want them to do. Make a short film, you know, like get a group of friends together and do it, shoot it. You know, it's like, it's not going to be perfect in the beginning because it never is, okay? But the more you do it, right, the more it becomes a muscle, and the more you get to make things look even more beautiful than they did when you first started. You know, you look back at the work and you think, wow, like that's what I used to do, and you, my God, and look how far I've come. But yeah, just start. And the great thing about today, back in the day, there weren't many black people making films. And that was two reasons. Institutionally, the institutions that are out there, you know, the empire, all of that, they didn't want us to make films because basically film was a form of propaganda, yeah, and they didn't want us to have our own voices, yeah, because, you know, the person who gets to own the story gets to tell whatever story or version of story that they want to tell. It's really important. That's why we have to tell our stories and we have to document our stories. But also it's really important that when we're making our stories, that those stories come from a place of authenticity, that they're coming from our heart and our soul. Okay. When you have an idea to do something, right, research it like hell so you know it inside out. So that when you go to talk to someone about that idea, okay, the idea is fully formed, right, and you believe in the idea completely, right? Because you'll get people who will tell you that the idea isn't good enough, or that the idea that you have taken to them, that idea, that you need to make changes to the idea, right? And that may be the case, right? But the thing is never abdicate your responsibility to own your idea. Yeah, and a lot of people do that. Someone will say to them, yeah, I'll give you money to make your film, your exhibition, your program, whatever it is you're making. Yeah, but I'm only going to give you this much. Yeah, and I'm going to take this much from you. Yeah, so always understand that your ideas are your children, and be careful who you're going to hand your children to hold.